a man, who they say he murdered 3. Strange things have happened there. No stranger would it be if we met at midnight in the hanging tree.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Chris James. That which doesn't kill you makes you hurt all over. And I kind of did up my shoulder the other day on my bike, my annual bike accident. So, oh well, I'm still alive, which that's the important part. I now have 4 cats sitting in front of me trying to do whatever it is cats do. I wonder if ghosts drink coffee. I must dump out a ton of used coffee grounds each year. I'll bet Julio dumps out a ton each week. I have tried putting the grounds into the compost heap out back. The roaches were getting super dynamic. They were running around the backyard, but I couldn't see any kind of usable activity. Mostly just a lot of calisthenics. I did notice when the grounds were Organic Man Coffee Trike coffee, the roaches were much happier. If you'd like to consume the best coffee in the universe, swing by the Organic Man Coffee Trike 4501 McPherson. If it's too far to drive, then you can go to organicmancoffeetrike.shop. I've even caught my cats just now trying to drink my coffee. Maybe that's why they act the way they do. I was listening to One Strange Thing with Laura Norton. She had a Meredith from Rattled and Shook. The idea of a paranormal go bag came up, and it got me to thinking, what would I put in a bag like this, and why? The first thing that popped up was holy water. A few months ago, my wife and I drove down to the Basilica San Juan de Valle, and she loaded up on holy water, several quart jugs. We're expecting the next 2 months to be eventful. Holy water doesn't have an expiration date. Out by the side door of the church is a huge fountain where you can fill a jug if you need. The process of making holy water isn't all that involved. Mostly, a priest blesses the water and then he adds blessed salt. The salt is blessed by the priest as well, then it's added to the water. The use of holy water can be traced back through religious traditions as far as ancient Egypt, where it was believed to have magical powers that could heal ailments. Ooh, maybe I should splash a little on my shoulder. The Egyptian priests would collect water in jars, and then they would pray over it. Many faiths consider holy water to contain divine power, which can protect against evil spirits and remove spiritual impurities. Sprinkling holy water onto objects or people is thought to possess cleansing properties. Haven't had enough coffee yet. In Africa, some rivers are considered to already be holy without even being blessed. The Ganges, also known as the Ganga, I believe, or is it the Ganja? Maybe it's the Ganja. Well, it flows 1,600 miles from the Himalaya Mountains to the Bay of Bengal in northern India and Bangladesh. It is regarded as sacred by the Hindus. The river is personified as the goddess Ganga in ancient texts and art. Ritual bathing in the Ganges was and is an important part of Hindu pilgrimage, and the ashes and the cremated are often spread across the water. Unfortunately, the river is also highly polluted. Just about every kind of nasty thing is allowed to be dumped into the river. Not everybody in India believes that the river is sacred, and many companies use it to flush away nasty chemicals or waste products. The Incans saw the Urubamba in Peru's Sacred Valley as a direct reflection of the Milky Way. The constellation river is known as Mau. Flowing along the spiritual center of Incan culture, the river passes important ruins like Machu Picchu and Rocky. According to Incan beliefs, the river was a collection point of the earth's water that would then be fed up into the sky. I think it would be a good idea that all of our political leaders, the politicians, the folks that think they have the answers, they should all have to run a gauntlet each morning of people spraying holy water on them before they can go into their offices or the Capitol building. What do you think? Would that be interesting to watch? How many politicians would start yelling and screaming, it burns, and then run away and never be seen again? Yes, I have a very low opinion of most politicians. How much holy water would that take? It would be fun to watch. Maybe we should all start calling our congressmen and our senators and telling them, hey, I've got a bill for you. How much holy water would you need in a Paranormal Go Bag? I'll leave that one up to y'all. I would just put one small bottle that you can find in any religious goods store. Salt is considered to be a protector by many cultures. If you watched the movie Hocus Pocus, Allison Watts just dumps the salt out in random while turning in a circle. Everything I've read says you need a continuous, unbroken ring. Add to this, some say you need to use just blessed salt. The Levitical priesthood under Moses identified salt with the covenant. In Leviticus 2:13 it says, every offering of your grain, offering you shall season with salt. You shall not allow the salt of the covenant of your God to be lacking from your grain offering. With all your offerings you shall offer salt. In Numbers 18:19 it says, all the holy offerings which the people of Israel present to the Lord I give to you, and to your sons and daughters with you, as a perpetual due. It is a covenant of salt forever before the Lord, for you and your offspring with you. The Bible has a lot more references to salt in it. The word salary comes from ancient Rome when soldiers were paid in salt. Salt has been used for protection for nearly as long as man has been on the planet. It's believed to absorb negative energy. By combining it with protective herbs and essential oils, it can be used to ward off any energy you don't want coming into your home. This can include, but is not limited to, nasty people, spirits, other energies, anything you might consider harmful or negative. To make your own protective salt, combine about as much kosher or sea salt as you think you're going to need. This will depend on the number of doors to your home and if you intend on doing the windows as well. When it comes to the additives you want to use, you are not limited to the following: acacia, acorn, African violet, alfalfa, aloe vera, bamboo, bilberry, black pepper, bloodroot. Well, the list goes on. It's just about everything I have in my spice cabinet, plus a lot more. You can find most of these ingredients at just about any grocery store. There's a lot I've never even heard of. I believe when you're mixing your protective salt, use what comes to your mind when you're meditating. Praying is asking for something, and meditating is listening for an answer. You don't have to use anything that you can't pick up at the grocery store. A foxglove and feverfew might be hard to find. Use what you believe you need to use. You place the salt in a bowl and pick out the additives. Hold the ingredients in your hands and think. Concentrate. Envision what it is you're making this salt mixture for. If you're trying to keep your mother-in-law away, picture her unable to pass through the door to your home. If she's really annoying, you might want to picture her unable to climb through a window as well. Think about only allowing people, things, or spirits into your home that have good intentions. Once you've infused the additives with your intentions, sprinkle them over the salt. Mix everything together. Some say you need to use a wooden spoon. Others say just mix it with love in your heart. Think about what you're making the mixture for. Once everything is well blended, place your hands over the bowl and picture energy passing through your body, into your hands, and down into the salt. If you believe in guardian angels, now is the time you can call on them to come in and add their power to the mixture as well. It would also be the time to pray the mixture will do as you plan. If you're more into higher power, then call on the spirits to help out, the ascended masters, if you will. The good ones, not the ones you're trying to keep out. Yes, you can also do this in the negative direction. Spread the salt in front of every door to your home. If you have a walkway leading up to your front door, you can spread the salt at different points along the walkway as well. Make sure you get all the side doors. Don't forget the back door that the dog comes and goes through. Also, the garage door. You can repeat your intentions as you're laying down the salt, only if it feels like you must. Unlike a lot of things in life, there's no right way of doing these things. Do what feels correct. Now, on the other hand, if you belong to a church with strong beliefs, go to your priest and ask him or her to bless the salt for you. Once back home, sprinkle it the same way as the others would do. Of course, you can also order blessed salt from, where else? Amazon.com. They also sell holy water, but how will you know it's not just tap water in a fancy bottle? The longer I manage to stay above ground, the less I trust people, especially those who send thousands of dollars to politicians so they can benefit from new laws that the rest of us have to toil under. A salt can also be used in a spray bottle. Get an empty, very clean spray bottle. Mix about 1 tablespoon of salt to 1 cup of warm water. Open the doors and the windows only on one side of the house. Open all interior doors. You start on the side of the house where the windows and doors are still closed. You stand in the far corner and you start spraying this salt mixture into the air so that it settles down onto everything. As you're doing this, if you are a religious person, you can try praying. If you're more into the higher power, you can chant what your intentions are. The idea is you're chasing the negative nasties away, but you want to give them an exit point. That's why you have the doors and the windows open on one side of the house. Palo Santo translates as holy wood from Spanish. It is a sacred tree found on the South American coast. Wood from the Palo Santo tree is valued for its sweet aroma and spiritual qualities. Belonging to the Bursaraceae or torchwood family, this is the same family that includes frankincense and myrrh. Those two should sound familiar to some of y'all. You know, the day the three wise men showed up. Did you know that the next day the three wise women showed up? They brought diapers, formula, and toys. When Palo Santo burns, it produces a purifying smoke that is said to clear spaces, objects, and energy. If you find you have something hanging out in your home, you can use Palo Santo to chase it away. The process is the same as when using the salt spray. The Palo Santo spray is a piece of the wood soaked in water, and you spray it just like you would the salt mixture. The salt mixture is a lot cheaper. The locals in South America utilize Palo Santo for protection and for healing. A shaman will ignite sacred herbs like sage, cedar, Palo Santo, and sweetgrass to clear negative energy and promote healing. The smoke is chasing away the nasties while fixing anything that they may have injured. I put the question out to the gang at the LPRS. They came up with a few ideas of things to put in a paranormal go bag as well. One idea was crystals. I carry a clear quartz crystal that I got many years ago. I take it to every investigation I go on. It keeps working right anytime I encounter anything negative. I mean paranormal negative, not Karen negative. If we leave a site and it felt bad, dense, or heavy, I take the crystal and I place it in a glass filled with salt water. I let it set overnight, and the next morning it's good to go and ready for my next misadventure. There are a bunch of different crystals with different uses. Black tourmaline is a powerful transformation stone that's capable of turning negative energy into positive energy. If you know of somebody that seems to drain your energy anytime you're around them, they just might be what's known as a psychic vampire or a psychic leech. By carrying black tourmaline in your pocket or around your neck like a necklace, you can steer the negativity away from yourself. Some folks also say carrying a super dark crystal draws energy to them. It reinvigorates people while keeping the negative things away. The dark red garnet is said to help in healing. If you become sick, there is some evidence someone or something is out to get you. You don't have to have a Dr. Evil trying to kill you. There could be somebody you know that is not happy with the things you do. They don't go home and kill a chicken and begin sprinkling the blood on an image of you. They just focus too much attention, and maybe even gossiping about you and sending a negative energy your way. Should this behavior go on long enough, it might begin affecting your health, especially if they have a group of like minded individuals that they sit around and complain about you. Just think if you're ever there with them, listen to who they talk about and how they talk about. It's always the people that aren't there that day. Some healers consider the garnet to be one of the best crystals for protection because it's uplifting and can wipe away any darkness that clouds over aor- your auric field, not your aortas. That takes a different kind of healing. Your auric fields. Yeah, your auras. Those things. Smithsonite is a crystal for protection that does a number on your mind. Whenever you start to feel emotionally overwhelmed, it brings you back down to reality, and it grants you the clarity you need to make tough decisions. The crystal protects you from your own mind. Many people suffer from a mental fog in times of stress. A Smithsonite ensures these instances don't cloud your judgment. How many of us talk ourselves out of trying anything just because? How many people convince themselves they can't do something due to a lack of mental acuity? It's also said to protect you from grudges, granting you power to let go of emotions that no longer serve you. I can hold a grudge. I'm a world-class grudge holder. There are people I still hate from back in the 60s. I'll get even with them one of these days. Malachite Malachite has been used for protection from evil for as far back as written records go. In ancient times, a shaman used it to shield against curses and dark magic. Today, it's used to guard against toxic energy. The green stone is said to have an immense power of protection, like a guardian angel watching over you. It shields your heart and mind from damage. Even in the midst of distressing situations, it ensures that darkness doesn't take hold of your body. Smoky quartz is used to heal once some unseen entity has put a kibosh on you. The crystal can be used to clear your chakras. It eliminates feelings of stress and anxiety. I wonder if I could get that in an IV. According to some folks, smoky quartz is a magnificent grounding stone as well. When you're feeling lost, it anchors you to your place in the world and pushes you to reconnect with yourself. I don't find anyone saying it would take the place of actual grounding. This is done by walking around barefoot out on the ground. It eliminates the negative energy by flushing it out into the ground, like a grounding rod. According to South American stories, Amazonite lined the shields of Amazonian warrior princesses. This crystal can be used to bind your inner demons. All the bad things you've gone through as you navigated life get clogged up inside. Amazonite keeps the bad things from running or ruining your life. The stone shields you from yourself, filtering out stress and anxiety so that you can let go of the old nasty horrible wounds. It makes healing manageable, allowing you to deal with past indiscretions while keeping you safe from anything new that befalls you. Ionite is sometimes called the Stone of Atonement. It helps to bring awareness and clarity wherever you go, allowing you to read people and situations better and understand your own emotions. A pyrite, which is also known as fool's gold, can be used as a talisman for protection. It works against the dark energy, psychic harm, EMF fog, and environmental issues. Apache tears grant emotional protection. Amethyst is said to be the best crystal for use for protection, and it can clear your mind and get rid of negative thinking. I hear that word best a lot when reading these different articles. The list is long. There are many crystals out there, and pretty much most of them do the same thing. They protect you against the nasties, and they heal the injuries. Carnelian, black obsidian, spirit quartz, fire agate, sigillite. Labrador light is used when you need to find something. No, wait, that's the dog. Uh, Storalite is known as the fairy stone. It is a protection stone with a long historical connection to mysticism. A Stourlite is said to grant you otherworldly knowledge, and it protects you during spiritual journeys. If you're ever having an out of body experience, this is the thing you want to have in your pocket. Clear quartz, the one I carry, is the universal stone and a good protective crystal. It's used for healing and energy amplification. Many practitioners use it in tandem with other stones to harness as much energy as possible. Turquoise is said to be a protector. It is a tranquil stone that shields you from chaotic energy that swirls around you. Instead of letting that energy overwhelm you, turquoise turns it into strength, courage, and other usable emotions. Many believe this light blue mineral protects you from lies and fabrications. It shines a light on truth, giving you the strength to navigate the world with a greater sense of intuition. I almost got all tied up just talking about crystals. There were many more I skipped. If you want to know more about crystals, there are literally hundreds of sites that you can check out. You have to read them and then decide which ones are right and which ones are just trying to sell you something. That's the hard part. I find if the person says you can use this crystal for this and this other crystal for that, and then you get down to the bottom of the page and he's not trying to sell you those crystals, more than likely he's telling the truth. If, on the other hand, it says if you'd like to protect yourself against brain sucking zombies, you need to buy this crystal, and then there's a link on where you can buy it, that might not be a good one. I have a few boxes of white candles here at the house in my emergency supply box. White candles can also be used for protection. Did you see the episode of Kolchak, the Night Stalker, where he goes up against the zombie? To kill the zombie, although you are trying to kill something that's already dead, to put the zombie out of commission, Kolchak lights several white candles and then fills the zombie's mouth with salt and tries to sew it shut using copper thread. Well, he's using copper wiring. Uh, it doesn't go as planned, but it does finally work out for Kolchak. He doesn't get eaten by the zombie. One of the really good episodes. Well, I kind of liked all of them. White candles are effective when it comes to protecting and cleansing a person or an environment. They are a symbol of mystical purity and harmony. The light from the white candle works as a protective barrier. Cat, come on. It works as a protective barrier. When you're using white candles, you are calling for hope and balance. If you feel worried or full of negative thoughts, light a white candle and you should feel calmer and more serene. Candle flame interpretation, which is also known as pyromancy, is a centuries old divination practice rooted in mystical world of witchcraft and spellcasting. To do pyromancy, you light a white candle and then you stare into the flame. Clear your mind and see what comes to you. Not an actual form of protection, but it might let you know who's trying to cause you harm through unseen means. The trouble is, this is open to interpretation. You might see somebody or something that has nothing to do with what you're trying to deal with. The experts say it takes years of training to get the visions correct. To use a white candle for protection, you simply light one or several and let them burn. The longer they go, the longer you're protected. In some regions, you say a prayer as you light the white candle. As long as the candle burns, the prayer is being repeated over and over. At San Juan de Valle, they have several candle houses. They look like greenhouses, only they have solid roofs. People light candles and then they set them in there to burn unmolested. Thousands of candles. I'll bet it's hot in there. A votive or prayer candle is a small, typically white or beeswax yellow candle intended to be burnt as a votive offering in an act of Christian prayer, especially with the Anglican, Lutheran, and Catholic denominations. In Christianity, votive candles are commonplace in many churches, as well as home altars, and symbolize the prayers the worshiper is offering for him or herself or for other people. The size of a votive candle is often about 2 inches tall by an inch and a half in diameter, although other votive candles can be significantly taller or wider. In other religions, such as Hinduism and Buddhism, similar offerings exist, which include dais and butter lamps. I didn't look into those. If you're going to use candles, use your head as well. I've seen way too many people light a candle and leave it to burn. They come home to a house filled with smoke or no house at all. You can also use protective incense such as sage, dragon's blood, frankincense, myrrh, and palo santo, which will help safeguard against negative energies and create a safe, positive environment. During the Black Plague of 2020, I used any excuse to run around town. I needed a stick of butter, so I'd go to the grocery store. I got yelled at by several Karens and a few dicks for not wearing my mask or not having it on correctly. I asked a few folks what they had to protect themselves against crazy machete welding people. They all got a blank stare on their face, followed by a few saying, "Oh, that's what the police are for." Ah, but when the police are minutes away, a crazy man with a machete is right there in front of you. They're all so focused on unseen thingies, things that more than likely their immune system would take care of, they never considered what they might have to do against some big, off their gourd individual who had decided it was clobbering time. Yes, that's a Thing reference from the Fantastic Four. Those cloth masks most folks were using had zero ability to stop microbes. All they did was they caused your glasses to fog up and they made everybody look a lot nicer. The press was parroting the idea, as long as your face was half covered, you were protected. Never mind things that enter through your eyeballs. Some people prefer using herbs and spices for protection. This does harken back to the original Black Plague. The plague mask had a long beak-like appendage that was stuffed full of various herbs to protect the doctor who wandered about watching everybody die. Rosemary is said to be one of the best protecting herbs for purification purposes. If you need to cleanse something, you burn rosemary or keep a small satchel of rosemary around your home. You can also brew a potion or float rosemary in water, letting it set for several hours and then use it as a spray. Salt is not an herb and it's not a spice. It's a mineral. Spices are derived from seeds, bark, roots or fruits from plants. A bowl of salt left out will automatically cleanse any room. It will also keep the nasties away. Enough said about salt. Onions are also not herbs. If you go visit someone and you see a peeled onion sitting on a table or a counter, the person you're visiting just might think you are giving off negative energy. Onions can be used for protection as well. You peel an onion, you set it on a plate or a bowl somewhere in the house. Somebody comes in that you consider has negative energy. They are there for a little while and then they get up and leave. As soon as they're gone, you take the onion and you throw it out the door. You don't throw it in the trash can because you'd be keeping the energy inside. Think about that next time you're over visiting somebody. The rose plant isn't so much used for the petals or the aroma, but for the thorns. Folks plant these plants all around their homes, and the thorns are supposed to impale any nasty energy trying to get to you. In her book, The House with Good Bones, T. Kingfisher went into some detail about roses as a use for protection. The idea is that because the thorns on the rose protect the flower will then transfer this protection to you. Just about any flower with thorns should work to protect you. Here in Texas, just about everything has thorns or fangs. Dragon's blood is actually resin from a tropical palm tree. It's popular in the witchcraft community because it has so many uses, including strong protective powers. Dragon's blood is especially useful if you need to ward off psychic attacks. You can burn dragon's blood incense or put some of the resin in a protection pouch. It will also cleanse or clear any spaces. You can hang bundles of mint around your doors and windows to keep the nasties away. Plus, you can brew a home protection potion, which you spray around the house or just keep it in a small jar by the entrances. Dill can be used to make pickles or for protection. Negative energy or psychic vampires, and leeches can all be kept at bay by using dill. Those are the leeches that suck energy, not blood. Some say that it will also boost your lust levels, so use it sparingly. Mistletoe got its use as a kissing plant from way back when the Norse gods were doing other things than telling us what day it is. Four. This sounds like what Pat Dolan kept calling Ella Swanson in Cowboys and Aliens. The Latin name is Hoothorus. Hoor. Hoor. I think that's how it's pronounced. He kept saying, shoot the whore. Hothorus. He was a Norse god of mythology, the blind son of Odin. He is tricked and guided by Loki, get that right one of these days, Loki, into shooting a mistletoe arrow, which was to slay the otherwise invulnerable Baldar. The goddess Frigg, Baldar's mother, made everything in existence swear to never harm Baldar, except for mistletoe, which she found was too unimportant to ask. The gods amused themselves by trying weapons on Baldar and seeing them all fail to do any harm. Loki, the mischief maker, upon finding out about Baldar's one weakness, made a spear from mistletoe and then helped Hor, that guy, shoot it at Baldar. The one and only weakness the kid had, and oops. In a reaction to this, Odin and the goddess Rindar gave birth to Vali, who grew to adulthood within 1 day and then slew Hur. Hey, that's what the Norse believed. None of these people have names. I mean, none of these people have days of the week after their names except for Odin. That's a good thing, too. Today is Thursday. No, that wouldn't work out. Because it had been tricked, mistletoe forbid anybody from taking aggressive action or any kind of a meanness while standing beneath it. If two opposing warriors found mistletoe above their heads, they were to walk away from each other to do their fighting someplace else. Somehow, the idea of not killing each other turned into kissing instead. I wonder how Hur was able to make a spear out of such a tiny plant. Well, okay, he didn't make the thing. Loki did, but still. Hang mistletoe over your door to ward off unwanted intruders, or wear mistletoe on your clothes as a preventative measure. Mistletoe can also be used in ritual baths, though it is poisonous. So don't make tea and try drinking it. You'll, well, then you won't be needing protection. Black or red pepper can be used almost the same as salt. Just hang it in a tiny sack all around your home or around your neck. Wards off bad energy, and you can use it on your food if you discover they don't have any at the restaurant. Well, it is supposed to absorb bad things, so you might not want to use it on your food. Garlic has become a staple in just about every vampire movie. In the old ones, the good ones, the ones I watched growing up. You'd always see garlic hanging from the rafters and the doors and windows of any inn where the hero or the victim was seen in. Since ancient times, garlic has been revered for its ability to protect against evil's forces. Across cultures, garlic has been hung around doorways, worn as amulets, and incorporated into talismans to ward off evil spirits, vampires, and other supernatural beings. Rooted in mythology and folklore, garlic is frequently portrayed as a powerful emblem of perseverance, strength, and purity, contributing to the widespread belief it is a protective properties as well. A garlic has been revered as a holy plant with supernatural qualities in societies such as Egypt and Greece. It was used in religious rituals, offerings, and embalming practices, believed to prevent physical and spiritual protection. Provide, not prevent. Having a day. It's like Friday the 13th with a full moon, but it's not. In medieval Europe, garlic gained notoriety as a potent weapon against witches, demons, and other dark forces. It was commonly worn around the neck or placed in key locations to safeguard homes and loved ones from harm. The protection associated with garlic stems largely from its strong odor and spicy taste, which were thought to repel evil entities and certain people after you eat it. Garlic's ability to ward off evil was believed to extend beyond the physical realm, offering spiritual protection against curses, hexes, and evil intention. Garlic was a potent talisman against the unseen forces that lurk in the shadows. Hawthorn is a helpful plant used to ward off ghosts. It was also used by the ancient Romans to protect a baby from evil spirits and negativity. It is considered sacred to the Fae. So be careful if you happen upon a patch of hawthorn in the nature. Don't go disturbing the plant unless you have permission from the little people. Aloe vera can be found next to our walkway leading to the house. It's also along our driveway. One use is for injuries. Maybe I should. Well, it's for open wounds. An open cut can be helped along by squeezing aloe vera goo into or onto the wound. It's kind of thick, so you have to really work at it in order to get it onto your skin. If it doesn't work, you can use a clean knife to scrape the goo off the plant and then smear it on yourself. You can eat the plant, but let me warn you, it tastes horrible, like something you don't want in your mouth. It also has a long aftertaste, like weeks. The plant is good for hemorrhoids. Oh, it's good for healing them, not making them. Uh, it's also it's also good for indigestion, but getting over the taste, well, it might not be worth it. Better put up with the heartburn than the aftertaste. It may also lead to diarrhea. I want to know who came up with the spelling for diarrhea. It's one of those words that if you have to look it up, you'd best be sitting down because it's going to take a while to find it. Who decided these things? Aloe vera is used for protection, but it seems to work best when it's still growing. It keeps a negative energy away from your home. If too much bad stuff is present, the plant will wither and die, which that takes a lot. If you have an aloe vera plant in front of your house and it just croaks, even though you've been watering it, and you haven't been dumping chemicals on it, well, maybe somebody has it out for you. Everybody knows about frankincense because of the three wise guys, or men, from the Bible. It is considered a very potent protector. Frankincense is a hardened resin that comes from the trunk of the sacred boswellia tree, which grows in the dry mountain regions of India, Africa, and the Middle East. Many people consider frankincense to be more potent than sage for clearing a house. This is the reason it is burned during many religious ceremonies or sacred places such as Christian churches. You can also use frankincense oil to anoint objects used in both religious and magical rituals. Frankincense is also used to anoint infants to cleanse them, but you still got to use that, get rid of the diaper and give them a bath once in a while. You can't just dump frankincense oil on a kid and hope that'll do the trick. It cleanses them spiritually. You can all, if you feel as though there's some negative energy in your home or workspace that is causing bad things to happen, try diffusing frankincense oil to help clear the space of negative energy. St. John's wort is used to prevent against all forms of dark magic. This means that it will repel curses sent your way. But it can also protect from unintended consequences from your own spells. You know that whole thing, everything that you send against your neighbor, you will receive back. What is it? Doubled, something like that. If you try to kill your next door neighbor, well, you're going to wind up dead instead. This protection herb is also used for warding against bad spirits and for banishing all evil entities. Try burning this herb during a banishing spell. If you wear St. John's wort on you, then your own convictions will be strengthened while your opponent will grow weaker. A St. John's wort is said to protect against fire, lightning, and other natural disasters. Just like with crystals, herbs, and spices come in many shapes and sizes. Depending on who you listen to, you'll find hundreds of plants used for protection. Like haunted houses, someone has decided that every crystal and every plant is the best thing known to mankind for protection. I saw that word so many times on so many pages that I started to think maybe I don't know what that word means. Decided it must mean something other than what I was told it meant. Q Inigo Montoya. You keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means. I know I don't sound like him, but just about every crystal and herb was said to be the best for protection. The best means excelling all others, most productive of good, offering or producing the greatest advantage, utility, or satisfaction. Not the best bunch of things, but the best of all things. I find it interesting from a paranormal slant. So few people consider iron as being something to use for protection. Iron is the name of a chemical element. The traditional meaning of the word iron was what was called wrought iron at one time. In East Asia, cast iron was common about 500 BC and was called cooked iron, with wrought iron being called raw iron. At the end of the Bronze Age and the beginning of the Iron Age, tools and weapons made from iron replaced those made out of bronze. Iron cultures were replaced were rep- Iron cultures were replacing bronze cultures. It was pretty simple. A guy swinging a bronze sword is going to find out what pain means when he goes up against a guy with an iron sword. Iron mixed with larger amounts of carbon has very different working properties and structural properties. It is called steel. Steel was rare, making it was difficult and it was unpredictable to work with. Steelworkers were often associated with supernatural skills until the Industrial Revolution. This is why the folks working steel were called blacksmiths. They were just this side of performing black magic. Today, steel is cheaper to make, and most of what is now sold as wrought iron is in fact mild steel. Iron horseshoes are considered good luck charms in many cultures, including England, Denmark, Lithuania, and Estonia. Its shape, fabrication, placement, and manner of sourcing are all important. A common belief is that if a horseshoe is hung on the door with the two ends pointing up, good luck will occur. If the two ends are pointed down, then bad luck will occur. Should the horseshoe come loose and flip upside down, well, this is a portent of disaster. There are many tales of blacksmiths dealing with devils to secure the secret of iron smelting. In some stories, the smith is outwitted by the devil. In others, he fails to catch on and winds up getting the worst of the bargain. A lot of these tales were later Christianized in the Western, such as stories of Saint Dunstan and the Devil, in which the devil takes the form of a beautiful maiden and tries tempting the hard-working, honest blacksmith away from his work. The blacksmith sees through the disguise when he notices that this temptress has cloven hooves, and he uses his tongs to grab her by the snout, the nose, and remove her from his shop. Wonder what kind of high heels would go on cloven hooves. The devil returned on another day as a wealthy merchant and offers the blacksmith riches in exchange for some sort of exclusive trade deal. The devil had again overlooked suitable footwear in his disguise, and the cloven hooves give the game away once more. The smith once again uses his tongs, grabs the devil by the nose, and ejects him from the shop. However, before he lets the devil go, he forces him to make a deal. Any home with a horseshoe from this smith's shop hanging above the door would be protected from any nastiness that the devil was going to try and do. The association between iron and magic is widespread and stems from long before the Iron Age. One of the oldest iron artifacts is a dagger found in the tomb of Tutankhamun. Tutankhamun, that guy, King Tut. He was buried in his jammies. Some of y'all get that. The knife was from 3200 BC, which is about 2000 years before the Iron Age. The metal in King Tut's dagger was worked from iron that was a gift from the gods. It was the solidified tears of the sun that had fallen to the earth in the form of a meteorite. Another story has more to do with the metal in the horseshoe. Early Western Europeans believed that iron had magical powers and could drive away evil. Folklore of the time was rife with tales of mischievous fairies and mystical creatures. Horseshoes, being made out of iron, naturally became protective talismans. Other legends said that witches were so afraid of iron horseshoes that they traveled by broomstick instead of horseback. The 8th century Chaldeans believed the crescent shape of the horseshoe protected against the evil eye, thus making it a good luck charm. The number of holes in a horseshoe isn't just a random design choice. Typically, horseshoes have 7 holes to secure them to the horse's hoof. The number 7 is revered across cultures for its frequent appearance in nature and life. 7 continents, 7 seas, 7 colors in the rainbow, 7 days in the week. This association with the number 7 also amplifies the horseshoe's lucky aura. Ancient civilizations, including the Babylonians, Egyptians, and Aztecs, believed iron to be a gift from the heavens. The celestial association stemmed from the iron-rich composition of meteorites. Not all cultures viewed iron with such reverence. The Greeks and Romans forbade its presence in their temples and any religious ceremonies. This prohibition hints at a deeper, more complex relationship between iron and the divine, a metal too powerful and too profane for sacred spaces. In European folklore, iron stands as a bulwark against the forces of darkness. Legend tells of witches rendered powerless by cold iron, unable to cross its threshold. Villages seeking protection would bury iron knives beneath doorsteps or erect iron barriers across their properties. However, witches are often portrayed as creating their potions using iron cauldrons. So somebody's got their facts screwed up here. In India, the jinn cower from iron's power. In Scotland and Ireland, even mischievous fairies dare not trifle with this resolute metal. Across cultures and throughout history, iron has been fashioned into talismans to ward off evil, attract good fortune, and enhance virility. Gold is the metal most commonly associated with the sun, and people have given it attributes of everything from personal growth and accomplishment to financial success and power. It appears in nearly every culture and almost always as a symbol of wealth and status. Some say it is also good for protecting us from evil beings. Silver appears in a number of magical traditions and often is considered a neutral metal. It's typically associated with moon magic and all that comes along with it, such as intuition, wisdom, and psychic sensitivity. Some say if you're trying to develop your psychic skills, consider a bit of silver jewelry to enhance your efforts. Silver is typically connected to the sixth chakra and can be used to help open up your third eye. I used to think silver bullets used to kill werewolves all came from the Beast of Javadon story. However, werewolves. There, I still sound like Terry Garr. Werewolves. According to old records around 1640, the German city of Greifswald became overrun with werewolves. These werewolves were described as being huge wolves that during the day they looked like men. I talked about this a bunch during the show, Werewolves number 2. In fact, I may have talked about it during Werewolves, the original story. Needless to say that the folks there in this town gathered up all the gold, all the silver they could find. I'm sorry, the silver, and they used it to drive the werewolves, the werewolves, out of town. And this was 124 years before the story about the Beast of Javadon. Is silver useful for werewolves? Well, I don't know how I'd ever find out. Unless I accidentally shoot a werewolf and it turns into a guy. But then, once again, that's Hollywood for you. Maybe the beast will just stay as a beast. Humans first discovered copper around the 10,000 years ago, and once they figured out how to melt it and shape it, all kinds of things were possible. Copper smelting is discovered around the beginning of the Neolithic era and has been traced to several different parts of the world all at the same time. So everybody all over the world was all discovering copper at the same time. Copper holds significant spiritual properties that have been recognized and utilized for centuries. For energy conduction and amplification, to enhancing intuition and psychic abilities, copper is revered for its metaphysical benefits. Copper has a natural antibiotic property. This is why houses used to have copper piping throughout. They're kind of getting away from copper because it's too expensive, and now it's all plastic. What are the crooks going to steal without any copper piping or wiring to go after? The water coming from the street wasn't all that safe to drink. Not safe at all here in Laredo. It still smells like chlorine. As it flows through the copper pipe, the bacteria was killed off, making tap water a little safer to drink. Mercury, which is also known as quicksilver, is the heaviest metal known to mankind, and it's the only metal that is always liquid. They called it living mercury at one time. It is found in tombs in China and Egypt, as well as India. The Greeks figured out that it could be applied to skin conditions. The Middle Ages, they decided that it was a cure for syphilis. A night with Venus, a lifetime with Mercury. The patient would actually be cured of syphilis, only to die of mercury poisoning. Mercury is unlike any other metal known to man, since it's never hard. You can't shape it into anything. You can't carry it in a bag. It has to be in a solid container, glass or ceramic. When you freeze it, it makes a very good electrical conductor. But you need a lot of it to do anything. Magical workings involving Mercury include communications and progress. Seeing as the god Mercury was the fleet footed messenger, as well as mental clarity, higher learning and education, and the ability to perceive and become a convincing speaker. All that from Mercury. And it can be used for protection if you can figure out how to keep it on you. The easiest and cheapest form of protection can be found just above your neck, just between your ears. The human mind. To begin with, if you just avoid any place paranormal, you have nothing to worry about. The trouble there is that paranormal sometimes comes to you. I never use, I never play with, I never even allow a Ouija board into my home. I don't want to experience what could happen. I don't go on any demon related investigations. If Ishmael says, "We got a demon case," I tell him, "Take some notes and let me know how it goes later." I say, nay, nay, when it comes to the demons. Now, in order to protect yourself against all paranormal activity, you would have to avoid just about everybody on the planet because a lot of people carry paranormal luggage around with them. So here's what you can do to protect yourself against paranormal showing up at your house or your job site. Visualize yourself standing up somewhere. It can be in your bedroom, it can be in a garden. Most people prefer the garden method. Visualize yourself standing there with a bright white light pouring over you, covering all parts of your body and staying there. You're surrounded from the top of your head to the bottoms of your heels with a glowing bright white light, which is your psychic protection. You should see yourself encased in white light. You do have to practice this. It's not as simple as it sounds. People's minds can be tricky. You run into Karen, knowing she can suck the life out of you. Instead of beefing up the white light, you might begin to worry about maybe the light's going to fade when she gets here. Well, if that's what you're thinking, guess what? That's what's going to happen. As you visualize your armor going south, it does. And Karen can now feed on your energy. What you need to do is practice seeing the white light becoming a permanent part of you. Visualize the light being there all the time. Eventually, your mind will become your basis for protection. And now for all those warnings that you hear at the end of every drug commercial. Some of these techniques only work for some people. Just because you're wearing your garnet smoky quartz Apache Tears Amazonite necklace doesn't mean that nothing can get in. You also need your mental game in high gear, and maybe a 9mm as well. Yin and yang, light and darkness. For all the protection options that you can find, the other side, the dark side, just may have a few techniques of their own. Hope you enjoyed tonight's show. If you did, spread it around. If you didn't enjoy it, why are you still listening? Till next Saturday, this is Chris James for Strange Things.
Are you coming to the tree where they strung up a man who they say he murdered 3? Strange things have happened there. No stranger would it be if we met at midnight in the hanging tree.